One of the police own family stealing from me. Mama told me to pray, but white Jesus can't save me. Get him away from me. I don't know what to say. So many niggas hating me. Get him away from me.
Always up on my own. Don't need you all in my zone. Spend so much time alone while I'm riding strap on my chrome. Always up on my own. Don't need you all in my zone. Spend so much time alone while I'm riding strap on my chrome.
Going sip on my own. Don't need you all in my zone. Spend so much time alone while I'm riding around with my chrome. Going sip on my own. Don't need you all in my zone. Spend so much time alone while I'm riding around with my chrome. Tryna keep it on the true side, nigga. Laying low to play it cool, nah, nigga. Ass niggas on the team, I've been known to get the green ever since I was 2'5", nigga. Coop hanging out the roof, nah, nigga. Cause I ain't stunting on them. Put my whole team on so they ain't wantin'. When niggas doing bad, you know that they be hating on you. Get the hoping that you fall, they be waiting on it. Bullshit, get bread from the envy. Best friends get to looking like enemies. When you got it in this bank account empty. Perfect recipe to brittle out of jealousy. Looking from a bird's eye view. Learn from everything I've been through. Told my baby girl, if you ain't spending life with the nigga, never let him put a dick up in you. Cause if a nigga wrong, I'ma check that shit. And when you paper long, never flex that shit. Told my son, when you getting money, never trick it to a bop and flip it over, then invest that shit. Give a lot of game, tryna bless my kids. Gotta keep it real, that's the best shit. Got hitters up and feel it back in Texas. When I get up on the track, yeah, I wreck shit.
Always up on my own. Don't need you all in my zone. Spend so much time alone while I'm riding strap on my chrome. Always up on my own. Don't need you all in my zone. Spend so much time alone while I'm riding strap on my chrome.
Going sip on my own. Don't need you all in my zone. Spend so much time alone while I'm riding around with my chrome. Going sip on my own. Don't need you all in my zone. Spend so much time alone while I'm riding around with my chrome.
Hey, what's good, Zariah, man? What's up? Get your ass up. Oh, man, you always do tripping. What's going on, man?
What's good, Red?
Hey, man, they was clowning you at work today, man. So? I mean, we watched the video a couple times, but we really couldn't tell if it was you.
Yo, how's your eye?
Oh, it's cool. God damn!
What's up, Rock? What's up, Rock? Yo, let me get one of them flyers, man.
Man, I ain't giving you shit. You better get the hell out of here before Cat Pop come out here.
Man, come on, man. Why you gotta be like that, man? I'm trying to come to class, man. Why you acting crazy?
Man, you need to go do that.
Man, I ain't giving him shit.
Man, what? Man, you ain't gonna give me shit. We need brothers to come to class.
Damn, man. Ite me yato me tararo tato.
Man, you fucking racist, man. Give me this goddamn flyer, man. You acting crazy, homie.
Man, fuck you.
Oh, shit. T-Bow, nigga.
What? Who?
T-Bow.
Oh, damn, I ain't been to class in a minute. Shit. Oh, shit.
What's up, y'all? What's up, Red? Thanks for the bike. What you got on my ties, homie?
I ain't got nothing. I thought you already collected the tires.
I did, but I want Red's 10%.
Stall him out.
What's up, Red? What you got on my ties, homie?
I ain't got nothing, man.
Oh, yeah, you got something.
I ain't got. Hey, man, that's messed up, man.
Shut your ass up or I knock your ass out.
Yo, T-Bow, man, that's messed up, man. Give him his money back.
What money?
You right, man. What money?
Hey, man, why ain't y'all help me?
Yeah, man, I paid my tithes.
Man, that's fucked up. If it was y'all, I would have helped y'all.
What about the time he took the tires from me in Zariah's backyard?
Oh, that was different.
Man, let's jump him.
Man, sit your ass down, man.
Man. I got mind control over Tebow. When he here, I pay my tithes. But when he leave, I pay my tithes.
Man, damn, man. I should have just paid my tithes, man.
Man, that nigga gonna cry in the car.
Should have paid his tithes.
Shit, real shit.
This shit is endless. What I speak is the truth. I don't care if it's offensive. 12 rounds hit hard, and this shit gon' go the distance. Way to exit cool, but wait till you see the interest. Know that we them niggas when we walk inside the entrance. Put me as the GOAT, you should be honored to get a mention. All my clips is standard, but I still get extensions. Switch on the big 30, sound like when it's spitting. Album so high, I had to give them an extension. One West till they bury me. Yeah, that's the commitment. Don't trust the soul, niggas purring or they hit this shit. What I speak is the
What's up,
truth.
y'all?
I don't care if it's offensive.
What's up, Red?
Life that I chose, no turning
Thanks for the
back,
bike.
no endless. They don't understand.
You got on my ties,
so
homie.
tell them no forgiveness. Rain on them.
God damn, man.
Life shit is endless. What I speak is the truth. I don't care if it's offensive.
God
Life
damn.
that I chose, no turning back, no endless. They don't understand when we tell them no forgiveness.
Tebow,
Rain on them.
nigga.
What?
Tebow.
Reincarnation. So you know this endless. I'm solidified and stamped. That's why I walk with a signet.
I went and did Salaya. What was
Good. Be like, man, that's fucked up. If it was y'all, I would've helped y'all.
All right, word. Man, that's fucked up. If it was y'all, I would've helped y'all.
Blameless. And if you ain't the same, I'm against it. Was born with this shit. The other half, I'm just gifted. 20 on me. Wish a nigga would so I could spend it. Start from the branch, then I ain't at the soil. You got a peer on me. That'll leave your family tree spoiled.
Get down here to class, 1232 North King Street, Wilmington, Delaware.
Shalom, Lord Christ, to my brothers and sisters, man. Y'all need to come down to 1232 North King Street, where the truth resides, man. ISUPK Delaware. We definitely representing doing some big things.
Delaware, 202 North DuPont Boulevard
That's
in
right.
Smyrna, Delaware.
That's right.
You know what I mean? Come be a part of this rising thing that we got going on here in Delaware.
I hear everybody claiming that they love the Lord and love God and all that. Well, get in here and show it. You know what I mean? The scriptures say faith without works is dead. So if you ain't doing nothing, your faith is dead. So get up and do something. What you need to do is get your ass up and get in the class. You understand what I'm saying? You ain't doing nothing else. You're sitting home wasting time. Wasting time. Everything is going on around you, and you don't know how to compartmentalize these things. You understand? I'm on my way to class right now, like you should be. You know what I'm saying? Class don't stop for nothing.
Excuse me. I got a question.
Somebody give me Romans 13 and 11.
and 11.
Khan, this is the book of Romans, chapter 13, verse 11. And that, knowing the time, that now it is high time to awake out of sleep.
Brother, you need a water?
Thank you.
All right. Shalom, Lord in Christ. This is the ISUPK under Commanding General Yohana, and we have been called to teach the so-called blacks, so-called Hispanics, and Native Americans that we are the children of Israel. And if you could, if my mic is not sounding right, go ahead and let me know ahead of time. It's a lot we'll be covering in this class. And I did want to bring out a particular story. So we this is the Brotherhood class.
That's right.
And an amazing story happened that. It's not too much about brotherhood, but it's an amazing story about the love of a child that they have for their mother. And this is something recently that happened in Michigan. Now, I won't go into the full story. Commanding General Yohana had actually brought it out on an episode of Black Watch just recently. And it was an amazing story. It's one of the most amazing stories I've heard as far as cop interactions are concerned, in recent times. What had happened was there was a woman who had bought a TV, a sister. She bought a TV at a Walmart. This happened in Michigan, like I said. She goes to leave the store and, as always, the security guard, is harassing the sister about the TV. It's like a 75-inch TV or what have you. She's trying to leave. The security guard is giving her issues. One of the employees from Walmart lets the, security guard know that the sister did pay for the TV. The security guard still didn't want to hear it because they're obviously on a power trip. And what I see in recent times is how much of a power trip that this devil has, started to incite in themselves, even before Trump was in office. But if you look, they're always, on us, whether it be Black, Hispanic, or, Native American, and they feel like they have to police us, tell us what to do. Right. You can't park here. You can't do this. Don't do this. Don't do that. And we're all adults, but yet and still, this oppressor, this devil is the hall monitor of the world, even things that have nothing to do with him. Now, it was the security guard's job, but he went overboard and he lied. What he did was, even after finding out from the employee that the TV had been paid for, he still went on a power trip, tried to make the sister show her receipt. She just went about her business, pushed past him, and got to her car. She's being helped, in the car to get the TV because it's a 75-inch. And, mind you, when you're buying a TV from like Walmart, Best Buy, one of these spots, they're supposed to help you get it in the car anyway. What's supposed to happen is they're supposed to help you wheel it up, do whatever they got to do. Because I've recently had to get stuff that was too heavy, just for a one-man lift and put it in the car. They're supposed to help you. They didn't even help the sister. Then had the nerves to accuse her of stealing. And then the security guard called the police and lied on her and said that, he was assaulted. A police officer that I can't remember her name, she pulls up and, begins to accost the sister about showing a receipt and proving she didn't steal the TV, but the sister was trying to explain it.
I got the story if you want.
Oh, most signed price, if you wouldn't mind. And I'll just sum it up real quick. And if you have the picture of the little girl, most signed Christ, I want to put that little girl's picture up because this sister, even though this class is about brotherhood and sisterhood, and that's a mother and daughter relationship, what the young woman did is what I would pray that one of my brothers in the truth would have the courage to do in the face of danger. Even when the police, and I don't want to give up too much for those of you who haven't heard, the story, but, to make a long story short, what happened was the officer, put hands on a woman and tried to cuff her. Sister didn't want to be handcuffed because she didn't do anything wrong. She paid for it. The security guard knew she paid for it because he was told by the employee, and now she's being arrested. the police officer that showed up had a reputation in that area for being, aggressive and being brutal. She ends up putting the sister in a chokehold and making the sister go unconscious. The little girl in the car remembers that her mother has a firearm in the car. The girl's like around 6 years old. She goes and she retrieves the firearm. She gets out the car. She points the firearm at the officer and tells the officer to stop and stop doing that to her mother. The officer, reportedly sees the little girl with the firearm, goes to retrieve her firearm, but the little girl ended up pulling that trigger. The bullet went through the officer's eye and unalived that officer. The little girl then went to go check on her mom and wake her up because the officer had strangled the mother unconscious. The mother wasn't even really, receiving enough air and oxygen to be conscious. If the little girl hadn't done that, the mother would have been unalived, because apparently the officer was still strangling this woman while she was unconscious, had no regard for the life of that woman and the fact that she had a child in the car. So I just wanted to tell that story because this is one of the most amazing stories I've ever seen. This is something that, the Lord definitely was involved with, because when the mother and the daughter were arrested and charged, because the little girl was charged too. When this little girl shouldn't have to worry about anything like that. This little girl is probably going to face a lot of trauma. And, if the mother, is able to, with whatever funds that she's able to, secure through this traumatic event, she should get that little girl counseling. But the Most High had to be involved with this, because once the evidence was presented, of course, the receipt, was, found, this, that, and the fourth, but once the judge saw the evidence, the case was dismissed. The charges were dropped. So that woman gets to stay alive and that little girl gets to keep her mother. And the Most High was in that situation. And that's something that I just wanted to, go over with, even though it's not particularly brotherhood, but that's an amazing story, that you should have courage. Like sometimes, we're in a right with the officer, and I'm not, by any means, inciting people, to cause harm to officers. But what officers should realize is you can't always, beat up on Blacks, Hispanics, and Native Americans, because sometimes the Most High might, put you out of this world at the hands of a child. So, with that being said, I'm gonna go ahead and move on. So, tonight there's a lot of stuff, that. Oh, Salakia, yeah. If you want to play the news article, Salakia, if you could.
7:45 p.m. On February 2nd, a routine shopping trip at the Walmart Supercenter in Novi, Michigan, turned into a life-altering event for 38-year-old Denise Williams and her 6-year-old daughter, Aaliyah. On what seemed like an ordinary day, Denise purchased a Samsung 75-inch smart TV. As she approached the exit, her receipt unknowingly slipped from her purse. Unaware of this, Denise continued toward the doors, where Trevor McCaffrey, the employee tasked with checking receipts, stopped her and asked for proof of purchase. Realizing her receipt was missing, Denise calmly explained the situation and flagged down the cashier who had just processed.
Now, okay, no, let's play that part, because it said he flagged down. I just want to point out something about Trevor McCaffrey.
Although the cashier confirmed that Denise had paid for the TV, just processed her transaction. Although the cashier confirmed that Denise had paid for the TV, McCaffrey refused to let her leave, insisting she could not exit without a receipt.
So stop right there.
Frustrated,
so Trevor McCaffrey, probably a devil. We already know the end of the story and what happened, because I told you. Trevor McCaffrey is the one who called the officer to the place. He is the reason that mother was, assaulted by a police officer who is really a criminal. That what the police officer did was criminal. But Trevor McCaffrey, if I'm pronouncing his name right, is the reason why the officer is unalive. Because had he never did what he did, had he never lied, said he was assaulted, and, pressed the woman so hard about merchandise that she had purchased, that officer would still be alive. Now, I'm not saying, I won't even go there. But we can continue. Salaki, you had a comment?
Con. It also shows you that we need to govern ourselves because the officer didn't even assess the situation how she was supposed to and see what was really going on as an officer.
Damn right. That's a heavy point that Locker Rob is making, because if I'm in a store, if Blacks, Hispanics, and Native Americans own their own store, we have a certain decorum and a certain couth about us that if we recognize, certain things in the ins and outs of thievery and this, that, and the fourth, we have more of a wisdomatic mind when it comes to stuff that if we were governing ourselves, stuff like this wouldn't happen. We wouldn't go as far as having our security guard call and lie about a situation that never happened with assault. And then if an employee told them that it was, a dead issue and it had been purchased, why did he insist? Because we don't govern ourselves, because they decide and they feel like they have, some superiority complex over us, that they need to rule over us or over every chance we get. But when we're in power, we're not going to do that to each other. We should be governing ourselves. That's a heavy point. Continue.
Determined not to cause a scene, Denise proceeded to her SUV and waved down a nearby man in the parking lot, asking for help to load the large TV into her vehicle. As the man began assisting her, a police car suddenly pulled up. Officer Lindsay Carter, a 28-year-old rookie with a reputation for being overly zealous, exited the vehicle with her hand already resting on her holstered gun.
So can we pause right
McCaffrey
there?
had called the police.
That's another thing to Locker Rob's point. It said the officer was, zealous, which means she was always aggressive. There's not a person that wants to be yelled at and accosted, especially you deal with stuff on your day-to-day life. You're an adult. You're not a child. You're not somebody who is committing a crime. And for an officer to show up and have, animosity towards you when you're not a criminal, of course that's going to cause an issue. But then you'll have, devils online that will say stuff like, I don't understand how she can unalive a cop and, nothing happens, because they don't have any compassion. But January 6th can happen and 5 police officers can be unalive, but they'll be happy that Donald Trump is pardoning, the main culprits and orchestrating, January 6th. Continue.
Police, claiming Denise had stolen the TV and assaulted him on her way out. Officer Carter immediately confronted Denise, accusing her of theft and demanding that she put her hands behind her back. Denise, caught off guard, tried to explain that she had paid for the TV and that the cashier could confirm it, but Carter's tone grew increasingly aggressive. When Denise hesitated to comply with being handcuffed, pleading that she had done nothing wrong, Officer Carter responded with unnecessary force. She grabbed Denise by the arm, struck her in the ribs, and forced her to the ground, placing her in a chokehold as Denise gasped for air. Aaliyah, still seated in.
We often see, and this is why we do need brotherhood and sisterhood, because Martin Luther King's birthday or celebration that passed already, right?
Right.
We do need a system in place to where we can purchase and buy from each other, to where we can govern ourselves, because things like this wouldn't happen. Martin Luther King was very unbrotherly in pursuing integration and other things that he wanted, because at the end of the day, it was to our detriment. Martin Luther King, was involved in, sexual escapades with the oppressor's daughter. And that's the real reason why we're in the situation we are now, as far as being completely and fully integrated. We're at the bottom and we have to deal with our 6-year-old daughter protecting us from some bloodthirsty cop that is choking us out in the parking lot. And if we could just get it in our heads to stick together, especially with our Mexican brothers and sisters, especially with our West Indian brothers and sisters, then we would be a lot better off, and we would have some sort of a hedge around us. But as I'll talk about today, we're going to have extreme brotherhood, because this devil has been excellent in conquering us by dividing us apart. Because there shouldn't be an instance where some sister is in some parking lot and some devil is choking her to death in front of her child. That's not something that should happen. But because we don't have brotherhood and we feel like we're individuals, things like this often happen where they can circle around us like wolves, and they can end up having us in a situation where we don't have help, where we don't have any hedge around us. But in the ISUPK, we've come to learn how to conduct ourselves and how to have brotherhood, and brothers have our backs in here. But a lot of times, Blacks, Hispanics, and Native Americans are alone in situations like this. A lot.
In the SUV, watched in horror as her mother struggled. Panicking, she remembered the firearm her mother kept in the glove compartment for protection, a weapon Denise had taught her to handle safely. Acting out of fear and desperation, Aaliyah retrieved the gun, stepped out of the SUV, and pointed it at Officer Carter, screaming for her to stop. When Carter turned toward Aaliyah and appeared to reach for her own weapon, Aaliyah fired a single, precise shot, striking the officer in the eye. Carter collapsed to the ground dead. Aaliyah immediately dropped the gun and rushed to her mother's side, sobbing and begging for her to wake up. Denise regained consciousness moments later as more officers arrived on the scene. Both she and Aaliyah were taken into custody. However, after a thorough investigation, Denise was cleared of any wrongdoing. The lost receipt was recovered, and security footage confirmed that Denise had paid for the TV and had not assaulted McCaffrey. The footage also revealed Officer Carter's excessive use of force, which had escalated the situation unnecessarily. Aaliyah's actions were deemed justifiable, as she acted in defense of her mother's life. The incident has ignited widespread debate about systemic racism, the criminalization of Black shoppers, and the excessive force used by law enforcement.
Most High in Christ. Round of applause for that young lady. And for the devils who have an issue with a little girl protecting her mother, it doesn't matter what you think, because the judge already presided, over the case. Justice was served in that parking lot, and justice was served in that courtroom. That little girl gets to be with her mother. That mother gets to continue raising that child. And I pray that that young lady has sons that she can, raise up with a father as well, so they can be protectors of their people. Because at the end of the day, Blacks and Hispanic and Native Americans are unprotected. And partially the reason is because we're so separate and we don't recognize that we are literally the same nation, but just from different tribes. I'm gonna go ahead and speak about, a story, very briefly. And it's about the Alamo. And what took place with the Alamo was Blacks, and Hispanics, specifically our brothers from Mexico, the so-called Mexican, standing up for us and fighting for us. This is a actual article from Time magazine, and this is something that just screams brotherhood. And a lot of the times, what we don't realize, and I see a lot. What are those guys called? I talked about it a little while ago. The Foundational Black Americans. Yeah, they don't even have a sense of history or understand what's going on. Because I saw one of those types put up something on Instagram, and it was about the Mexicans burning the American flag, as if the American flag is not drenched in the blood of our ancestors.
Right.
As if the American flag is something that is esteemed to be, something precious and something that, the saints should wear on their backs. When in reality, it's something that was used and flown over many assaults on our people. But you have brothers and sisters in the comments saying, why would you burn a flag in a country you want to stay in? This is not really the oppressor's country. This is stolen property. Just because you have a stronghold on something stolen doesn't mean it's yours. If somebody steals your car, does that ultimately become theirs? Does the Kia become somebody else's because they were able to hack the key fob and get it down the street from in front of your house? Hell no. Before there was a oppressor ever to walk these lands, Mexico, owned a large portion of the United States as we know it today. They owned California, Nevada, Utah, Arizona, New Mexico, Texas, parts of Wyoming, Colorado, Nebraska, and Oklahoma. So for you to say in a country you want to stay in to a Mexican man or woman, you're out of your damn mind. This was their country before it was the oppressors, before an American flag was ever flown here. It was our Mexican brothers and sisters' country. which they used to actually help us. The Mexicans actually assisted us in being freed from slavery, for a time. There was a time where Mexico abolished slavery, and the oppressor had an issue with that while they were in, the Mexican man's land. And Mexico fought them for it. So I'm going to read a little bit of this article, and then we'll get into the scriptures. It says, Mexico rented land to America. And this is a Time magazine article. They brought slaves, which was illegal in Mexico. Mexico sent in soldiers, and an all-out battle ensued because the Mexicans were not having it. We set a rule, this is the Mexicans talking. We set a rule, and now you're going to go ahead and, break those rules and try to, be in our land with slaves after we said it wasn't okay. So the United States lost. And how this might be a little bit too old, but Locker Rob, you ever heard of Davy Crockett?
I heard of it.
Okay. Davy Crockett is some, oppressor that they make all these great stories about. Davy Crockett was actually unalive during this battle at Alamo. Blacks and Hispanics fought together, and Davy Crockett was unalived. When a second battle ensued, Mexico actually lost and ended up having to negotiate and continue to lose land. So for somebody, to not notice history, I understand. But if you notice history, you should hold on to the fact that this was never the oppressor's land. It belonged to two of our brothers. It belonged to the Native American brothers, and it belonged to our Hispanic brothers. So you remember that if a flag gets burned, so what? To hell with it. The flag has nothing to do with the Bible. Our minds are so tied to this place. We believe that, at like the people that are Christians, they believe that the American flag is something holy. And as if Jesus would fly that American flag, as if the savior of Blacks, Hispanics, and Native Americans would fly an American flag. It is insane. If I could get Micah 2:1-2, because what we should be doing is building with our brothers. Because right now, no matter what we think, what's happening to the Mexicans in this country is just abominable. They separated the Mexicans from their children in the past, and I'm not talking about the past as in like, the 50s, the 40s. I'm talking about in the 2000s, Mexican children were lost because of this government. And if you could read that, please.
It's the book of Micah, chapter 2, verse 1. Woe to them that devise iniquity and work evil upon their beds.
Isn't this something that the oppressor does every single day? Isn't that what they do every time they decide to do something horrible? They devise iniquity against our Mexican brothers and sisters when they pass laws and make decrees to send them to a completely different, country than they're in. America belongs to the Mexicans and the Native Americans, not the oppressor. Continue.
When the morning is light, they practice it because it is in the power of their hand.
They have a certain power over us, and we have no power because we're divided. Even the Romans used to do what they called, I believe it was called, it's not divide and conquer, it's something very similar. But we have been divided and conquered, for thousands of years, and they do it today. They've had power over us for hundreds of years in this country. And that's exactly the reason why that mother was in that parking lot, almost being strangled to death by some overzealous cop that was just an absolute criminal with a badge.
Right.
Continue.
And they covet fields, and they and take them by violence, and houses.
They covet fields. They saw the lands that the Mexicans had, and they coveted those fields. They wanted them, and they took them in blood. They literally took slaves in blood. And when the Native Americans and the Hispanics decided to fight alongside with us, what they did was they decided to make lies about us and propaganda. I don't know if you've ever heard, but what they would do is they would use certain people within those communities, within those Mexican and Native American communities, and say that they were slave owners and tell us different information, say that, we had done something to their brothers and get us to bicker amongst each other. But once upon a time, like at the Alamo, we were even to defeat mythical creatures like Davy Crockett. Continue.
And take them away. So they oppress a man in his house, even a man in his heritage.
Have they not taken our heritage to the point that we don't even know we're brothers? To the point where we're speaking out against, you know, our brothers receiving some type of help from this country, and we're like, we want it. That's another way to divide and conquer. When they show us on the news that, you know, our brothers are coming from out of the country and they're getting, you know, some type of help, and then we say, well, how can they get help? That's the help we should be getting. They weren't going to give it to us in the first place. That's a way that they divide us. If I could, I've read this article before, but I want to show you how they use us against each other even till this day. So this is an article from Business Insider, and I'm not sure if y'all have ever you know, heard about this, but the DEA had struck a deal with you know, an extremely, you know, I don't want to say notable, but it's a notorious drug cartel. I believe it. I'm gonna get into the article, but I believe it's called the Sinaloa cartel, and El Chapo was actually running that. Now, remember all that stuff on the news about El Chapo? They're trying to make him the worst guy in the entire world, this, that, and the fourth. You know, they're making him some big bad, you know, boogeyman, and he keeps escaping prison. You guys remember that? The DEA struck a deal with that cartel and allowed them to sell metric tons of drugs in, you know, East Coast cities. But yet and still, they put his face out there instead of putting the members of the DEA who actually struck the deal with him. And they were able to not only destroy the Mexicans, but they were actually able to destroy the blacks. They used us against each other like they often do. If we had a sense of brotherhood, we would know not to do these type of things. Number one, drugs destroy communities. Number two, when you put drugs in the community, violence ensues because people aren't being raised correctly. Children are being raised in a manner of, you know, survival. That's why you get around certain people and they just have a, you know, a way about them that's just compassionless because they didn't have a mother or father that raised them with any type of love and any type of structure. Their mother and their father were destroyed by the drugs that the government helped get in our country with our brothers. And then on the other hand, what they do with the Mexicans is they go ahead and say, well, drugs are coming out of your country. We need to go ahead and police these borders. We need to go ahead and get in your country, even threatening to send military and have action against the Mexicans in their country. When in a whole while, it's the DEA doing these things to us. So this is an article by Business Insider, and it says the DEA struck a deal with Mexico's most notorious drug cartel. I didn't hear about anybody from the DEA going to jail. Now, mind you, this took place 13 years ago. We always find out about stuff late. How many times have they done something like this? How many times are we going to hear some article or we're going to get briefed on something that's been declassified and nothing happens about it? Y'all remember the drugs that I forget which port it was, but they found drugs at a port where longshoremen worked, and they found billions of dollars worth of drugs. Who went to jail for that? Do blacks, Hispanics, and Native Americans have money for billions of dollars worth of drugs? I don't know. That's the oppressor using it to, you know, just make us unstructured, to make us unfit to govern ourselves. Because once we rise up, they have to fall. If we had the type of brotherhood that Christ had, you know, for us, we would be in a way better position because we wouldn't allow stuff like this to happen. If Michael War is over a neighborhood, and let's say Michael War is a captain of 10,000 or 13,000, he would have men to see a car come in that neighborhood and be like, I've never seen that car before. Go ahead and find out what's going on. And they would cease, and the men will report back to him, well, this, that, and the fourth, they tried to bring drugs, and those men would be dealt with, but we don't have that type of power. Instead, what we do is we become unbrotherly in the fact of we see somebody that we don't recognize on our block that's a black, Hispanic, or Native American, and we press them and we say, where are you from? Right. Like, what gang are you in? What are you doing here? Where does your mother stay? Who do you know over here? And we don't own anything in the places that we do that. We don't have any type of power doing that to each other. You have no power. You are powerless when you do that. because the oppressor has made it, he's made it a, reality for you to do that every single time. There's no reason a brother should stop another brother in a neighborhood that he doesn't own on a sidewalk that he didn't pave and say, where are you from? That shouldn't happen. No brother should be selling another brother drugs because that's unbrotherly. Right. You are destroying and you are unaliving everything that's good about your community. So, Laki, I'm gonna get back to that article before I go too far. All right, so it says an investigation by EI Universal found that between the years of 2000 and 2012, the U.S. government had an arrangement with Mexico's Sinaloa drug cartel that allowed the organization to smuggle billions of dollars of drugs while Sinaloa provided information on rival cartels. Do you see how they were able to even turn Mexican cartels against each other? And then they'll say their evil was good. That's what they'll say. But what about the billions of dollars worth of drugs that came into the United States? We all know somebody who's overdosed on, what's that drug that has been unaliving brothers and sisters left and right? Fentanyl. We all know brothers and sisters that have been unalived and lost too early on fentanyl. We in here personally know somebody who struggled, with drug addiction and ended up coming in contact with something like that. So for the US government to take, part in that, they are directly responsible and have the blood of our brothers and sisters on their hands. That's why we should work together.
That's right.
Blacks, Hispanics, and Native Americans have a common enemy, and it's the devil that the Bible speaks of. Right. And what we need to do is we need to come into a power to where we can police our own neighborhoods, not from each other, but from the actual devil who would cause our brother to bring billions of dollars worth of drugs into our neighborhoods. We can't get health insurance sometimes. We can't get the proper medical care, but they can orchestrate billions of dollars of drugs to come into our communities. And then we want to fight against each other. We want to fight amongst each other when this devil has, completely destroyed the fabric of the Black family. And then we'll put us on the news as if we are the sole providers of crack, cocaine, fentanyl, and any other disgusting drug that comes in this country, when it's actually them. And then you have to think about how the oppressor actually is, because sometimes their own people get, caught up with the drugs, right? So they're willing to have casualties of war just so they can destroy us. I'm gonna keep on reading the article. It says Sinaloa, led by Joaquin El Chapo Guzman, supplies 80% of the drugs entering the Chicago area and has a presence in the cities across the U.S. So not only Chicago, where King Von, and what's the other brother's name, his cousin? You got King Von and you got, what's the name, Lil Durk? The reason why those cities are the way they are is because there's no structure. If somebody could, if I could get the verse, if y'all could find this, I'm shooting off the hip. The one that says, you'll have to paraphrase it to find it. It's the one that says the Lord wants everything to be done in decent order. If I could get that, if you could find that, because the drugs destabilize us. We don't have decency and order in our neighborhoods. We don't have any type of system to where we can protect ourselves and our children. I'm gonna bring it up again. That mother had a child in the car and her child ended up having to be her protector because we don't have protection. We are literally sheep walking around like we're fine, and then the wolves, they come to get us and they put drugs in our neighborhood. I'm gonna read that one more time, because this is the big bad El Chapo that they had on the screen as if he is the main culprit, when it is actually, I'm gonna read it again. The DEA struck a deal with Mexico's most notorious drug cartel. If they struck a deal, they're helping them. They're doing stuff in a fashion that gives them resources to, get the drugs. So you put El Chapo's face on there, but the U.S. government officials, they're not largely responsible for what happened. Let me read that one more time. El Chapo Guzman supplies 80% of the drugs entering the Chicago area and has a presence in the cities across the U.S. He was helped by our government. But you're upset when the Mexican brothers and sisters burn a flag. That's what you upset about. You upset when they get some sort of help after they've literally single-handedly made sure grocery stores have apples, oranges, lettuce. because ain't no oppressor going to be able to work at that that pace and be able to get the grocery stores filled. If they decide to send our brothers out of this country and they don't let them back in, all that hard work that they did is going to show. It's going to show in the fact that things are going to come up late now because they're no longer working hard. So you're going to be able to say like, well, damn, these brothers work their asses off, because the people that replaced them aren't able to keep up with that pace. The people that replaced them are having trucks coming late. Now, the supply chain is being broken, and now things are more expensive. And the money that was the small crumbs that they were giving our brothers and sisters, once things get too expensive, and we start to see a destabilization of this country, do you actually think that the money that you wanted so bad that our brothers were getting are going to come to us now? Hell no. We should stick together. Let me get that verse if you could.
Khan, this is the book of 1 Corinthians, chapter 14, verse 40. Let all things be done decently and in order. That's it.
Matter of fact, that was very short. Let me get that one more time from the top.
It's the book of 1 Corinthians, chapter 14, verse 40. Let all things be done decently and in order.
That's brotherhood right there. You want to know why that's a form of brotherhood? Is because Officer Matajiala is one of the men above me, and we have an order and a structure in here. I can't come in here and just talk to Officer Matajiala like he's just some brother off the street. I can't come in here and act a fool because there's decency and order, and he's going to hold me accountable to that, because that's what a brother would do, because that is what we need for the sake of our people. Right? That's what we need. We need that for the sake of our people, because when you have issues in Black, Hispanic, and Native American communities, it's because there is no structure. There is no brotherhood. I use a term, and forgive me, I don't believe it's offensive, but everybody wants to be a chief. Nobody wants to be an Indian. Every single person wants to be a leader without having the capability of actually following a leader. And that's actually unbrotherly. It's a lot of times where a brother might come in here and he might not want to say Khan Adawan Khan to another brother, but that's unbrotherly. It is brotherly to say Salakia Matajiala, this, that, and the fourth. Yeah, go get that done. Khan Adawan Khan, sir. It's that simple. That's brotherly. And then he has the respect, which this is something that was brought up in one of my Hebrew Academy sessions during our class. Respect is looking behind you and having respect into the men behind you and taking care of them, making sure they're held accountable. That's brotherhood, to make sure they're raising themselves up right so the men below them can be raised up right. But we don't have that in our communities. We have people checking you when you come to the block, or extorting you if you're some artist that comes from New York to California. So people like, what's his name? Pop Smoke end up getting unalived in their, in their Airbnb or wherever they're staying. People, what's the brother from Philly that was unalived, and he's got I know y'all young brothers know what the name is. What's his name? Recently he was a Philly brother. He was unalived in front of his lady.
Oh, the dancing dude.
The rapper guy that said this is my block.
He was he's a Philly guy. He went P&B Rock.
Oh, he got killed. Unalived in California.
Right. That like, we don't have any type of order. Really, what should happen is when you go to a different city, a brother should be able to tell you where not to go, where to go. Because don't go here because the oppressor is over here. That's what we used to do with each other. We checked in to make sure sundown towns didn't mess around and take our lives. That's what we did. Right. But now, instead of us warning each other about sundown towns, we go to a different city and we have to worry about brothers, unaliving us, because this oppressor has been so just crafty and turning us against each other. Right. All right, I'm gonna go ahead and drop that article. But remember, the next time you see a Mexican brother or sister burning a flag because they are completely distraught about losing their family to ICE, you remember not only did this government steal states and half of a country from them, which is called America now, they also use cartels to destabilize them and destabilize us. So the hell with that American flag. It means nothing.
Right.
It is a symbol of our oppression and
right.
us being locked in chains. And it's a actual symbol of how separated we are as a people, because we're scattered. And whether you flying, what we got France, they own slaves, Britain, America, even though they got different flags, they're together. But we think we can come under the banner of some oppressor's flag, and we can be, an American. We can be a Frenchman. We can be a Brit. We'll always be the oppressor's footstool, and that's why we should continue to work together. Let me see. There's another article. All right, let me see if I can read this, because we need to have compassion on our brothers and sisters. There's an article by The Guardian, and it's titled "Fleeing a Hell the U.S. Helped Create: Why Central Americans Journey North." So we're getting upset, as Black people, because we have all of our people, all of our brothers, our Hispanic brothers coming from a different country. But this article in The Guardian clearly states the U.S. helped create that hell that they ran from. Just like I said about the Sinaloa cartel, that cartel becomes strong and the people become weak. That's what happens. That cartel becomes strong, and then more drugs come into our neighborhoods.
Right.
And then more people end up being like King Von. King Von was created because his friend was unalived in front of him. And then lo and behold, he has a psychological effect.
Right.
And he's unaliving other brothers because he don't want to feel like a victim no more. He don't want to feel powerless. But do you know what would be said about some oppressor that does that? He had mental health issues. He needs help.
Right.
He had, what else do they say? Where they use kind words and say that their mind wasn't completely right, and that's the way they did it. That's what they would say about somebody like that. Because isn't that what they said about that killer, or Salakia, that unaliver who was pretty much I can't even say we're not even allowed to tell the truth. Good Lord.
If I may, that scripture where it said that they hold themselves not guilty, that's a mindset thing.
Damn right.
Mindset is what enwraps all of these other nations, and especially the Edomites.
Damn right. Can I get that verse? Salakia, they hold themselves not guilty. Where's that at?
Zechariah, I think 12.
Let me see, because we need to get that verse, because who was held accountable for all the drugs that came in?
Zechariah, Zechariah.
Nah, go ahead.
11 and 5.
Okay. Let's hear it.
Yeah, that's the one.
Yeah, if you could go ahead and read that, because that's an excellent point Officer Mataj Yala brought out, because they hold themselves not guilty. They don't want to be accountable for anything. They don't want to be accountable for the blood that is just drenched on the ground from us. They don't want to be accountable for the theft that has happened in this country. They don't want to be accountable for anything that happens. They want to use us as a scapegoat, right, and act like the drugs magically came over here with black hands. Right. All right, ready when you are.
Khan out of one Khan. This is the book of Zechariah, chapter 12, verse 5. 11. Chapter 11, verse 5. Salaki. Whose possessors slay them?
So whose possessors slay them? We just talked about that story earlier, but there's about with the little girl who almost lost her mother. But look at Breonna Taylor. Look at Botham Jean.
Right.
Look at instances where you have Sonia Massey.
Right.
These are actually our possessors. These, even though we're not in a physical type of slavery right now, we're still occupied and don't have the sense of freedom that a normal man would have, and we're being slaved by this oppressor. Continue.
And they hold, and they that sell them. They that sell, Salaki.
No sweat.
And hold themselves not guilty.
They hold themselves not guilty in anything that their hands touch that's evil. Right. Anything. Whether it's taking our lives, they'll say it was justified.
Right.
Whether it's putting drugs in our communities, they'll just blame us and use us as a scapegoat. Whether it's something as simple as just causing issues to where a mother can't even go to work and have childcare at the same time. They don't hold themselves guilty. There was a story about some sister who ended up being arrested because she left her children home on a 5-hour shift. And even though that's irresponsible, we shouldn't live under an oppressor who would make things so difficult for us to where we have to decide, I'm gonna have to leave my kids unoccupied just so I can feed them. Because she didn't leave them and go off, with some, next, brother overseas on a vacation.
Right.
She didn't leave them and go to the club. She left them to put food on the table. And unfortunately, this oppressor does not hold themselves guilty. And if we had like I said, if we had order and decency, we would be able to literally help each other. Where are the brothers and the sisters that's, trustworthy enough and able to watch that sister's child?
Right.
That's brother and sisterhood. Like if Michael War, if his son need me to watch him for a couple hours because he got to do something, I can do that. He could play with my son. They could play the video games, whatever. This sister don't have that because outside in this world, there really isn't brotherhood. In this world, you can be, I got you 1 second. In this world, you can be somebody's friend, but they're not really yours. They don't have your best interests at heart. And I'm gonna get into that with the whole Jim Jones and Cameron situation, because this isn't just to beat up on our culture outside of the ISUPK, but this is to bring awareness so we can start to see that this oppressor loves when we do things like this to each other, when we drag us down, each other down in the media. Salakia, go ahead.
Salakia, if I may, like there's a saying in the hood. They say it takes a village to raise a child.
Right.
And the village they don't even want to chastise the child. So let
at all
raise them.
If I could, that's an excellent point on, brotherhood of village raising a child. And I remember at one point in time, I grew up in a neighborhood where I couldn't act a fool in my neighborhood because those people knew my parents and that word was going to get back to them quick. You had to watch your mouth. You had to watch your actions, because if Miss Ann across the street saw me acting a fool, she was definitely going to call my parents or walk across the street and let them know, look, I saw he was setting stuff on fire in your backyard. He's wild. Or I found out that he was taking stuff out of the store, this, that, and the fourth. Go ahead, sir.
Right. And it's to bring it full circle, like the article that you're even reading now plays all in the part of why we can't trust someone to look after the 5 youngins while she go make some bread. You know what I mean?
Damn right.
Because the crafty counsel that these other nations conspired to do to us was with putting the drugs in our neighborhoods and with the integration with Martin Luther King. That result is why we cannot have someone watch our children while we go and put in some hours at work so we can put food on the table, or why it no longer, the village is no longer safe to be able to raise the children. You know what I mean? When you saying it takes a village to raise the children,
right?
We can't know that village is no longer safe because the crafty council,
right?
Our enemies coming in, and I'm wrapping up.
Okay, no sweat.
That mic picks me up good too.
Oh, most are correct.
And that village coming in and picking up the pieces and giving that helping hand where needed. You know what I mean? Because they had that crafty council to come in and tore that all apart.
Damn right. If I could, no, that's an excellent point. That reminds me of Lamentations 4:17, if I could get that, because we've put our trust in this place, and then they show us what they're, just like Officer Matajiala said, they show us their true colors. Because if we put our trust in the United States government, they're supposed to govern us, right? But what do? They make laws and rules that negatively impact us. They literally ship jobs that we would work overseas and then say that Mexicans are taking our jobs. And we have some type of affinity for our oppressor and think that they're going to be able to save us when they're not. The Most High let us know thousands of years ago that we are never, ever going to have a savior outside of him or who he sends. but yet and still we have some affinity towards this oppressor, even to the point where we get upset about an American flag being burned. And when I think of the American flag, I think of the Star Spangled Banner and things like that, right? Wasn't the Star Spangled Banner talking about hunting down slaves? It's so we have, like I said, some type of love for this place that is never going to love us back. We Blacks, Hispanics, and Native Americans have been a friend to America, but America has never been their friend. We have fought in their wars. We have, you know, enriched their economy, worked for less, and then gave more. We should do that for each other, right? Shouldn't we love each other as much as we've loved somebody that has never shown us love back? Somebody who is figuratively and physically just beat the brakes off of us for 400 years. Salaki, you could read that if you could, Baba Kasha.
This is the book of Lamentations, chapter 4, verse 17. As for us, our eyes have yet failed for our vain help.
And what do we learn about vain? It means false. We have looked, and there's a falseness that comes with seeking help from this place, because they're going to give you the runaround. They're going to blame us for something that happened, even though it's them. I believe the pilot that caused that crash, you know, in DC, that was a white pilot, right? Wasn't that a white pilot that caused that crash? Did anybody find out about that? But Trump pretty much tried to say it was a black person's fault. I don't even know if there was a black person in the helicopter, but yet it was our fault. We had the United States president, which black people looked for help from and hated their brother for. They hated the Mexican for Donald Trump. But look what he's doing. Look at the help that he's going to give us. It's going to be vanity. It's going to be false. Continue.
In our watching, we have watched for a nation that could not help, that could not save us, Salaki.
That nation could not help us, and that nation will not save us. I'm going to go ahead and read a little bit of this article about, you know, our brothers fleeing countries that the United States helped create a hell in. This is crazy. Even an article on this is just a side note. Some people believe that you're going to die and go to hell. This article knows that hell is a condition on earth. Even the article knows that. Fleeing a hell the U.S. helped create. All right. So this says, and this is from The Guardian. It says Jacqueline Call McQuinn, the 7-year-old Guatemalan girl who died this month in U.S. custody, is the latest victim of a long dysfunctional relationship between the U.S. and its southern neighbors that has cost countless lives over the past half century. So the United States is costing our brothers and sisters lives. We should help them. That's why I remember what was that called? Mission to Acuna. Mission to Acuna. The Mexican brothers helped us get aid to the Haitians. Y'all ever heard of that? So what happened was the Haitians, you know, our Haitian brothers and sisters, so-called Haitian brothers and sisters, had ended up being under some overpass or some bridge in Mexico. You remember that?
I remember that.
Our brothers in the UPK went and helped them and were assisted by the brothers in Mexico. That's brotherhood. That they in the world and they helped them. Right. And then lo and behold, the United States government once again tried to do something to where before our brothers could leave, they tried to send people after them, but we had already left. So they didn't want to give up the resources to help the Haitians, but they did want to give up the resources to try to help hurt us and stop us. That's what the government did. But yet we looking for help. Nah, we should keep sticking together and making miracles like that. Blacks, Hispanic, and Native Americans came together in that sense. It was the Haitians, the so-called Mexicans, and Judites getting together and helping each other out. And that was absolutely beautiful. But it says countless lives were taken, you know, this article is saying countless lives were taken, you know, over the past half century. The forces driving ordinary people to leave their homes and put their lives at risk crossing the desert with smugglers to get to the U.S. border are deeply rooted in Central America's history of inequality and violence in which the U.S. has long played a defining role. I don't know if y'all have ever heard this, but a lot of times what the United States government does, and I believe other countries that are European countries do, is they'll go ahead and overthrow members of government in places like Mexico and you know, and other you know, Hispanic run countries. They'll put their own people in and end up destroying the people, and that happens a lot. So of course, when you have a crooked, corrupt puppet from the U.S. governing you, you're going to try to run. But our brothers, they're looking for vain help, because the very people that they're running to are the people who caused the issue in their home country, and all they're doing is running into the arms ICE agents at this point. Salakia. So I won't go too far into that, you know, that article, but I did want to read, you know, a little, not read a little bit, but I'll go into, you know, the counterproductive culture that's been created by this oppressor with us. There's not too many reality TV shows that I'm hearing about, but we had Love and Hip Hop, Bad Girls Club. Give me some other ones that we hear about that are these viral Black reality TV shows. Even I've seen ones with the Real Housewives. Is there
the Baddies Club?
See, I don't even know about that. Is that the same thing as the Bad Girls Club?
Not Bad Girls Club. This is
Baddies Club.
It's a Baddies thing.
So it's baddies on.
Fight, yeah, it's all the baddies from each state.
And what are they doing on there?
Oh, they fighting.
They fighting.
Yeah, they doing a lot of.
So let me get this straight. Somebody is putting money up and putting us on TV, because it is on TV, or is it just on the internet?
It's on TV.
I think that was.
They got TV shows. They got.
So let me get this straight.
I think it's on.
Somebody is putting up money. Salaki, y'all had something?
I was checking to see. I think Blueface started it.
Okay. So somebody is putting up money.
Oh, yeah.
In order for us to be fighting against each other.
Oh, yeah.
In the public eye. And we don't see that as that's some type of issue. We just see it as entertainment.
Right.
we don't see it as it's counterproductive and destructive to us as a people. I don't see too many you know, Taylor Swift looking women fighting, you know, on reality television. Occasionally I'll see a clip of what was Kanye wife's ex-wife? I can't remember. Nobody famous today. Salakia. Kim Kardashian. I seen Kim Kardashian smack her sister upside the head a couple times. But by and large, I keep seeing sisters on you know, the internet fighting. And then I look at the comments and I'm praying for you know, some type of wisdomatic comment like, we got to stop this. But I see stupid stuff like, yeah, give her that smoke. I see stupid stuff like, yeah, it couldn't have been me. Instead of saying like, look, we got to stop doing this, because really what that does is it puts us in a public eye. First of all, it's unbrotherly as hell. It's unsisterly as hell. It puts us in the public eye and gives credence to the oppressor to go ahead and say, you know what, look at how they treat each other. We definitely need to treat them the way they're treating each other. We definitely, you know, need to watch out for these super predators, because the way they throwing fists at each other, they're going to throw it at us. These are some unruly 13% Negroes is what they saying about us. When really, I don't believe it's that many of us that do these type of activities, because sometimes I will see a brother or a sister about to get into a situation and then it can get talked out. But instead we have the Bad Girls Club. We have, you know, the Baddies Club. What? The Baddies Club? That is stupid. Like, we have all these, you know, dumb things that show us fighting each other and show us, you know, doing, and that's a stumbling block to young people that see this activity and now they want to do it. Now they want to do it. And I hate to use the term, but we ever heard of monkey see, monkey do? That's how they treat us. Like y'all ever seen how it's vehicles and they weave in and out of traffic as fast as they can? Now it's an epidemic on the road. I see people doing it on the bridge. Whatever we see ourselves doing in a large format on a platform, that the children are going to do it. Even adults are going to do it. And we need positive images. That's why the ISUPK tries to show ourselves doing everything that the Lord wants us to do as far as the work of the Lord is concerned, because we definitely got to counteract the baddies club. That's just dumb as hell. If I could, can I get let me get Leviticus 19:6, because I believe it was Booker T. Washington. He was writing an address, and it was pretty much to black people, and he pretty much said that black people are like crabs in a barrel, but he said bucket. We say barrel nowadays, but Booker T. Washington in the early 1900s said we are like crabs in a bucket. I believe it might have been the 1800s, but he said we're like crabs in a barrel. And I'll give another quote from Marcus Garvey, because he said pretty much the same thing. He said we are like crabs in a barrel that none would allow the other to climb over. That's what you do when you tearing each other down on social media. That's what you're doing when you're literally showing in a public eye how disrespectful and how evil you can to a brother. You're being a crab in a barrel, because so like 1 second, because brothers believe now with what they're seeing, that if they step on another brother, that's what lifts them up. Like, I need to disrespect this brother so I can be esteemed in a high, viewed light. Go ahead, Salaki.
You said Leviticus.
It would be Leviticus 19, and we could start at verse 16.
Even Salaki, if I may, even what you just saying about what the statement you just made, that's exactly what the whole Grammy Association just showed to all the people that want to get a Grammy. If you this your brother, you know what I mean, you'll get a Grammy. That's what Kendrick just swept the Grammy with. You know what I mean? What you just saying, it just proves that
the controversy with brothers and sisters going head to head is taking over. He had the whole crowd singing "Certified Lover Boy, Certified Pedophile." The whole crowd is singing that thing, which we can look at it as just music. Like, oh, it ain't nothing, it's just music. But really, it sends echoes out into, blacks, Hispanics, and Native Americans, and shows us if we step on each other, we could be tall. I'm gonna just use a whole bunch of brothers as steps. I'm gonna lay them down in front of me and just walk as high as I can up. And that's not the way we should do it. Yeah, let me get that Leviticus 19:16-17, if I could, Baba Kashaw.
This is the book of Leviticus, chapter 19, verse 16. You said 17 or 16?
We can start at 16.
Thou shalt not go up and down as a talebearer among thy people.
So a talebearer is pretty much you going around telling everybody's business, whether it be false, whether it be true. You don't want to be that type of person, because that's literally the most unbrotherly thing I could see. You see somebody, doing something, hey, look at this brother, look what he doing. And that's what I see on the internet. I even see women being talebearers about their own men. They'll get on the internet and blast every single thing that man has done wrong. He did this, that, and the fourth. Don't take care of his kids. Didn't buy him Christmas present. He got doo-doo streaks in his drawers. Whoop-de-whoop, gave me herpes, all this. And that's the type of thing you want the other nations to see about blacks, Hispanics, and Native Americans, that will get on a social platform and instead of build each other up, tear each other down. You don't know how to handle things discreetly. Continue. You left off at
neither shalt thou stand against the blood of thy neighbor.
You don't want to just be out here drilling and taking your brother's life. You don't want to do that, because the Most High is going to see that, and then somebody's coming for you. Continue.
I am the Lord. Thou shalt not hate thy brother in thine heart.
That's what you do when you see a Mexican or a Guatemalan coming across this border and you say, nah, they need to go back. No, the money that the government is giving them, we need that. No, that's not what you should be doing. What you should be doing is assisting your brother and making a way for both of y'all to come out on top, and literally not have to worry about whether the government is going to give anybody the crumbs that they give, because they got a budget for the wars so they can get more oil. They have a budget to go ahead and bring in drugs in our communities. But you think that they didn't have enough money to give to the Mexicans and us, but yet the Ukraine, and yet whoever the hell else is getting money overseas, who else is getting money? The
Asians.
I didn't, and I that was something that I recently found. Even the Arabs and the Asians get money over us. Of course, the Israelis get money. Continue.
Okay. Thou shalt in any wise rebuke thy neighbor, and not suffer sin upon him.
That's the way that we should live. We should live contrary to what we're seeing. There's something I want to play, but I'm gonna skip over it so I can get Officer Matagiala to put on the screen. But if I could, let me get this is something, you know, for the sisters. Let me get Genesis 30 and 14, because this is something, because my rib was I was going over some of these scriptures with my rib. She was like, hey, we need something for the sisters. So okay, this is something for the sisters. A lot.
I said 30.
Genesis, the book of Genesis, chapter 30 and verse 14.
Con, it's the book of Genesis, chapter 30, verse 14. And Reuben went in the days of wheat harvest and found mandrakes.
Yep.
Mandrakes in the field, and brought them unto his mother, Leah.
So Reuben, he's out in the field. He ain't go to no grocery store, because back in the day we ain't had that. He went out into the field and he got the food, and he brought the mandrakes to his mother, which is Leah. This is about Rachel and Leah. Continue.
Then Rachel said to Leah, give me, I pray thee.
So Rachel and Leah are sisters, and they share a man. Y'all know the man's name that they share?
Jacob.
Damn right. Who was became Israel. And they share a man. What happens in the world when sisters share a man? Don't they get unsisterly sometimes?
Sir.
We see a lot of times where I just saw a clip. I pray it was a skit where this sister came knocking on a door and was like, I'm tired of being a side piece. I'm about to let his woman know that we've been seeing each other, this, that, and the fourth, and went up on the door. That is some of the most bogus activity I've ever seen in my life. Let that man tell his woman what's going on. You don't got nothing to do with what's going on in that household. But I digress. Let's continue to read.
Give me, I pray thee.
So she want the mandrakes, because apparently, to my understanding, mandrakes help a man be what's the word, like virile, ready. Like nowadays, instead of mandrakes, brothers using blue chew, from or a honey pack. But back in the day, I believe they was using mandrakes. So she like, I need the mandrakes, because she's barren. She need the mandrakes. She trying to, and Leah knows what's going on. She knows the reason why Rachel was asking. But let's hear how it was handled.
Of thy sons, mandrakes. And she said unto her, it is a small matter that thou hast taken my husband.
It's a small, I guess it's a small thing that you just took my husband, right? Like that we got to share. That's a little bit of a snap or a little jab, but it's not something over the top, like pulling her tracks out and beating her upside the head or trying to run her over with her car. Continue.
And wouldest thou take away my sons, mandrakes also?
So you want the man and you want the mandrakes. Good night. Continue.
And Rachel said, therefore, he shall lie with thee tonight. Well, it's like, tonight. For thy sons mandrakes.
Continue.
And Jacob came out of the field in the evening, and Leah went out to meet him and said, thou must come in unto me.
So let me stop right there. She said, give me the mandrakes and you take Jacob tonight. They worked out a deal. We don't even got to go much further. Salakia, sir, if you could you put Jim Jones's face? The rapper Jim Jones. Mm-hmm. Could you put Jim Jones' face on the screen? They worked out a deal. They worked it out to where they were both able to agree on something, and it was done with some type of coup. It wasn't done to where Jacob had to come into the tent and say, yo, what are y'all arguing and squabbling about? And why are there crushed mandrakes all over the floor and all over the walls? What's happening up in here? It was worked out civilly. It was worked out orderly. And that's something that we should learn. Sisters should have a little bit of patience with each other, even if they feel like another sister has, overstepped. Just work it out with the sister to where you guys can both come out whole at the end of the conversation. Because a lot of times what happens is when you dealing with people and they believe that you stepped on them, they don't feel whole. Y'all should both be able to leave that conversation and nothing left. Like there's nothing that you left back there. Your dignity, your respect, you don't got to leave that, because you can treat each other like brothers and sisters, and everything can be done in a manner to where everything is copacetic and cool after it's said and done, and it can be pieced up. That's what Rachel and Leah did. But yeah, let me see. If you could, I want to play a clip of Jim Jones, the rapper, about something he had to say. Okay, no. All right. So everybody knows the Diplomats, Jim Jones. I'm gonna go ahead and put a clip of him, and I'll chop it up a little bit and speak, and I won't play the whole clip because this is about 4 minutes, or I may play it depending on how it sounds. But if one of you brothers can check the sound, because I'm gonna play it from my phone and his picture will just be put up. So this is Jim Jones, and he's doing an interview, because of course him and Cameron had a falling out, a while ago. And this is 7 years ago that they had this falling out. After that 7 years, they end up doing a show called Versus. But you could even see that their unit doesn't have brotherhood, because they were just unorganized and unorderly, as we should not be. They were just unorganized, unorderly, and the locks wiped the floor with them. Right. The locks wiped the floor, and you could tell that they really don't have a sense of compassion for each other, because I've heard the way Cameron talks, to them brothers. But this is Jim Jones, and I'm gonna play him talk.
My mother would tell me that I was a soldier with the ability to be a leader. You heard? And she meant that. So when you put in a position in life and you're able to kind of change your life, you gotta play the rules. Cam was the person that got signed. He was the face card.
So he's saying Cam, and y'all can let me know if y'all can hear that well. It's Tawab. He's saying Cam, which is Cameron, which has a show. He has like a sports show. I don't know what it's called, but he has a sports show now. And he's saying Cam was the face card. So Cam is the money maker. He's the golden ticket. And he's going to describe, instead of being trying to be a chief and staying on the same level, he stepped back a little bit, he's going to say, because he knows the position that he's supposed to play. He knows the order within the group, but he also had to do certain things within the group that left him feeling like his brothers didn't have his back. And I'm gonna keep playing.
He's the prized possession. He cannot be touched at all. If he get touched, we go there. And that was the method. Even with Joel's, they all know I put my life on the line for this. I've been to trial for this. I've been on America's Most Wanted for this. I've been on gang files for this.
So I can see, I don't know if you can hear it in his voice, but he's very passionate about what he's saying. He's saying he put his life on the line for this. This being the job that he was doing within, the rap scene with him and Cameron. He's saying that he was put in positions. He's mentioning stuff like gang files, America's Most Wanted. He's putting himself in a position where he's risking his freedom. And he's saying he's doing it for Cameron. And remember I said earlier, sometimes you'll be somebody's friend, but they not yours. That a friendship ain't always equal, and somebody actually being a brother to you, even though you're being a brother to them. That's why the Bible says you should prove your friends, so you don't end up in this situation.
Everything you can name. So when people play with me, I get real emotional because I operate off emotions, as they know for all the time they've been with me. There's never been a time that I backed down from any situation in this world, except God. And I've been up against 20, 30 deep by myself when niggas left me by myself. You heard? And I escaped those situations and come back.
He's crying right now.
Let's do what we doing today.
He's crying right now because he feels that what he did was not reciprocated. And that's something that, I see a lot of brothers go through. That's something that we don't have to go through in here, because we know what brotherhood is and we know how to have compassion for each other. But in this situation, we watching Jim Jones and Cameron, nah. And I was going to see if Matajiala could play it, but there's an old clip of Jim Jones and Cameron. They performing and they playing patty cake together. It look weird. They playing patty cake together. How does playing patty cake turn into Jim Jones crying on Hotline 7 years ago by itself, and now there's an issue with you know, to where he's telling him he's not from Harlem, this, that, and the fourth. And the issue with this is we see this unbrotherly activity, and then we mimic it because we see somebody that has money doing it, and it's to the point where it's like, well, he has money, he's doing this, he's being unbrotherly, and they think it's right for him to do it because of, for whatever reason, and it's a thing that just spirals down until, you know, it's just worse and worse. Because at some point we got to look at it and realize and say, yo, man, like, are we ever going to treat each other right? Like, is there ever going to become a point in time where we treat each other right? Because all I see on social media is girls, you know, saying that they're going to use men for money. I see men talking about, you know, running fades back to back and all this other nonsense. And everything we're doing is just counterproductive to our survival in this place. If I could, can I get a picture of 50 Cent on the screen? Because this is supposedly a real beef with Jim Jones and Cameron. It may not be, but it's something that we should look at and realize how unbrotherly it is and realize how we should treat each other. But then you have things that happen, and if somebody could hold 1 Thessalonians 5:22 for me, that's another short one. Because, and I'm gonna grab a verse too. Let me see if I could.
So I get 1 Thessalonians
5:22. And if whoever has that one, can the other brother get Ecclesiasticus 13:23? All right. Yeah, so 50 Cent, I'm gonna play this. He had an artist named Rotimi, and he also had Rotimi on the show. Rotimi is that brother, like kind of like light-skinned brother that was on that show that 50 Cent had, and he was with Ghost Power.
Right.
And I'm gonna play a clip because we shouldn't put money over the appearance of our brothers. We shouldn't do that. We shouldn't put money to send a bad message, even when it's fake, because it turns our brothers into, you know, just compassionless animals when it comes to each other. And I'm gonna go ahead and play that. I'm gonna play that video.
Your ass came on TMZ Live, okay, and played in our face. So what? Yeah, I did play it.
So this is talking about Rotimi and 50 having a beef. I don't know if y'all remember that. 50 had an artist, a light-skinned brother, and he's like, yo, he owes me $300,000. I might have to, you know, do whatever to get my money. Y'all remember that? All right.
Sure.
It was all fake. I'm going to go ahead and play the clip.
Yeah, I did. Do you owe 50 Cent $300,000? So let me explain the whole situation. The way he handles situations is unorthodox, and you know, I think he was just in a bad mood yesterday. I don't know what it was. I was just confused on like, yo, we talked about this, but it was brilliant. It wasn't my idea. Whose idea was it? 50. So what he did was he was like, look, I'm gonna call you, bro, and I'm gonna say you owe me money, but at the same time, I'm gonna mention that your album is lit and is #1 25 times. So he ended up getting his money back within 3-4 months because of how brilliant it was. So he was like, this is the brilliance. He was like, look, once we do this, TMZ is gonna call you tomorrow. Lying. Back in the day, your ass came on TMZ.
This seems like a light thing.
And played it.
That seems like a light thing, right? To tell a small lie. That seems like a light thing, right? But it's not a light thing. What it does is it sends a message out there. Even after we find out that it's real, other brothers are most definitely going to mimic this. And then other brothers that don't know it's real or don't know what's going on with it, they'll have a relationship with people around them that are brothers, and it'll be based on beef. It'll be based off some, you know, perception that they had of 50 Cent and Rotimi, or it'll be based on something that they had with, you know, perception that they had with Cam and Jim Jones, and it won't be brotherly. It won't be something in the fact of building your brother up. It'll be tearing him down in the eye of the public, or even unaliving them, because that's what they've been taught. If I could, let me get that 1 Thessalonians 5:22. for the Rotimi and 50 situation, because that's evil. That's an evil thing to do. But let's hear that.
Khan, this is the book of 1 Thessalonians chapter 5, verse 22.
Plain and simple.
Abstain from all appearance of evil.
You don't even want to make it look like you got beef with a brother, because what this does is it creates a culture and a divide amongst each other, and then the suppressor has his way with us. Even though 50 Cent and them did that, that shows other people in the music industry to be unbrotherly to each other. So now the small hat can come in and divide us and use situations like this to educate us on how to treat each other poorly. Let me hear that one more time.
Abstain from all appearance of evil.
Money and one of the read. I'm gonna read. Or matter of fact, did somebody get that Ecclesiasticus for me? When these brothers hear, these young brothers hear 50 Cent and Cameron and Jim Joe's talking, they're Cameron and them are absolutely rich. So it means a lot. Though these are men that are esteemed in the eye of the young population. Whatever they say is gold. Let's read it in Ecclesiasticus.
Come. This is the book of Ecclesiasticus, chapter 13, verse 23. When a rich man speaketh, every man holdeth his tongue.
Yeah, everybody's going to shut up and want to hear what he has to say because he has money and they want to be like him. They see some value in listening to it because they believe if they do what he does, they're going to be rich, right? You putting a stumbling block in front of your people is a terrible, evil thing to do. And 1 Thessalonians 5:22 says not to do it. Continue.
Come. And look what he saith. They extol it to the clouds.
When they hear what he say, they gonna tell everybody, yo, he said Jim Jones was a poop butt, never from Harlem, this, that, and the fourth, yada, yada, yada. And then read when I say something, because I'm the poor man in this situation. Let's hear when I say it.
But if the poor man speak, they say, what fellow is this?
Whose man's is this? Who's talking? What is he talking about? He said, treat your brother like a brother. Yo, get him out of here. He don't got no money. Any more on that verse?
Come on. And if he stumble, they will help to overthrow him.
Look, he's speaking crazy. He messed up a little bit. Man, get him up out of here. He's not about to be telling us what to do. We about to listen to Cam, Jim Jones. We about to listen to Rotimi and 50. I'm gonna fake a beef with my boys so I can get money. Because realistically, once these brothers stop making money, they have a sense of a social death, right? They're willing to sell out or drag their brother down so they can continue to live, because they don't want to be like us. They don't want to have to see a notice on the door that says pay the gas bill or you're gonna have to shower in cold water. They don't want to see something on the door that says eviction notice. They don't want to have to struggle. So they're willing to have the appearance of evil or actually be evil in order to do that. And they're willing to do it against their own brother. We only got about like 10 more minutes, so I ain't going to drag us through. But I do want to read, if I can get 2 Maccabees, verse 6. And let me see, where are we going to start? Since we only got, I'm going to see if we could get, because that's a lot of verses to read in that short amount of time. Let me see. 1 Maccabees, I'll read and then we'll go down, because verses 28 and 31 is really what I want to highlight. Because there's a brother, for his own life, he wasn't willing to set a bad example in this. For his own life, for the sake of following the laws, the statutes, the commandments, and being a Lord, being a man of the Lord, he wasn't willing to do that. These brothers that's rich, just for money, not even actually live, to figuratively live well, they'll sell out and do things like this. But this brother wasn't going to do that. So yeah, let's get 2 Maccabees chapter 6, and let me get there with you so I can see where should we go. Maccabees 6. Let me see. All right, so this is I believe in the Maccabees they were going against the Greeks, right? Not the Romans. So it was the Greeks, and there was a decree that went out. Men weren't allowed to profess themselves as Jews. There was sacrifices that were being done where you had to eat swine's flesh, And there was a brother that was not willing to do that, even to save his own life, so he could leave a good example for the brothers around him and even us until today. That's the essence of a brother and this story right here. All right. So if you could start at verse 1, and I'll see where we should drop down. We'll read verses 1 and 2, and it'll show you the gods that they were worshiping as well.
What was the verse again?
Second Maccabees chapter 6 and verse 1.
Khan, it's the book of Second Maccabees. It's the book of Second Maccabees, chapter 6, verse 1. Not long after this, the king sent an old man of Athens, to compel the Jews to depart from the laws of their fathers and not to live after the law of God, and to pollute also the temple in Jerusalem, and to call it the temple of Jupiter, Olympius, and that in Gerizim of Jupiter, the defender of strangers, as they did desire that dwelt in the place.
You can drop down to verse 8.
Moreover, there went out a decree to the neighbor cities of the heathen by the suggestion of Ptolemy against the Jews, that they should observe the same fashions and to be partakers of their sacrifices.
So their sacrifices included swine's flesh. All right, you can continue to read to verse 9, and then I'll tell you when to drop down.
And whoso would not conform themselves to the manners of the Gentiles should be put to death. Then might a man have seen the present misery. For there were 2 women brought who had circumcised their children, whom when they had openly led round about the city, the babes handing at their breasts, they cast them down headlong from the wall.
Let's go to verse 18.
Eleazar, one of the principal scribes, an aged man and of well-favored countenance, was constrained to open his mouth and to eat swine's flesh.
So they forced him. We skipped down, but Eleazar didn't want to eat swine's flesh. There were men that were around him that he grew up with that were also Jews that wanted him to eat swine's flesh. And Eleazar was a principal scribe. He was one of those people that was well renowned. He's what, young men would look at 50 like, or Cameron like. They looking at him in a well-favored light. But the only thing with this brother is he actually deserves to be looked at in that light because he's a man of the Lord and he does the will of the Lord. Continue.
But he, choosing rather to die gloriously than to live stained with such an abomination, spit it forth and came out of his own accord to the torment.
Keep going.
As it behooved them to come that are resolute to stand out against such things as are not lawful for love of life to be tasted.
So he doesn't want anything to do with it. He's literally going to risk his life. It's brothers that won't risk being poor to set a good example for their brothers, to be just simply a good brother. But this man is willing to risk his life for the laws of the Most High. But it's going to even tell you in the scriptures, he did it to set an example and to be a brother for us. Let's continue. And we almost done.
But they that had the charge of that wicked feast.
So them that were trying to force him. Continue.
For the old acquaintance they had with the man.
He grew up with these people back in the day. He knew exactly who they were. It would be like somebody that grew up with you. You're in the truth now. And then they're coming to you to get you to do something. But now they're like, you know what? Let us have a little bit of mercy on this brother because we had, an old, friendship. Continue.
Taking him aside, besought him to bring flesh on of his own.
They're like, yo, you can have this salmon. You can have this lamb. You don't gotta eat the swine, but continue.
Such as was lawful for him to use, and make as if he did eat of the flesh. taken from the sacrifice commanded by the king.
They like, yo, just eat this instead and just make it look like you did it. Let me see. Let's drop to verse 28 because we've heard this story, but this is about standing firm. Like certain parts you can take away and know it's about standing firm with the Most High, even in the sight of death. But this is also about brotherhood in this sense. Let's read verse 28.
And leave a notable example to such as be young to die willingly and courageously for the honorable and holy laws.
He doesn't want the brothers that are under him and young in age to see him go ahead and disgrace the Most High. He wants to be a brother and say, you know what? I'm going to show them the right thing to do. I'm going to show them that I will literally do what the Most High says, even until death. Continue.
And when he had said these words, immediately he went to the torment.
They started drawing on him, as they say in Philly. They started doing obscene things to this man. Let's drop down. We're going to read verse 30 and 31.
But when he was ready to die with stripes, he groaned and said, it is manifest unto the Lord that have the holy knowledge that whereas I might have been delivered from death, I now endure sore pains.
He could have been delivered from death. He could have left a bad example and sold out in front of these young men and saved his life. Like these men are saving themselves from being broke and they want to live a life to where they don't have to struggle. He decided not to do that. He decided to give up his life for the Most High and to leave it a good example for his brothers. Continue.
In body by being beaten, but in soul am well content to suffer these things because I fear him.
It is well with his soul to suffer these things because he did. Like, it's a terrible thing to go against the Most High and know it, right? It's a terrible thing to have that feeling in your chest when you know you should be doing something different, but it's well in his soul, even though it's not good with his body. Verse 31.
And thus this man died, leaving his death for an example of a noble courage and a memorial of virtue, not only unto young men, but unto all his nation.
Now that's being a brother. With that being said, I'm going to pass the class over to priest and officer Matajiao.
All right, CPK security announcements. Rules for new brothers and sisters. When a new brother or sister comes to the school, they are members for 6 months. They are to be saluted only. They are here to learn and share themselves with the world. If they need transportation, a teacher will arrange it. After 6 months, if a brother or sister has an interest in a particular person, they're to seek counsel from the heads. Tithes, which is a commandment, Numbers 18:21, Malachi 3:8-10, means tenth in Hebrew, ma'ashra. That's 10% of any penny of any increase the Lord gives you. You can put it right in that black box right over there by the lion's head. All right, priest funds, free will offering for the priest. It's not mandatory. It's whatever amount you like to donate. Upcoming holy convocations. We have the Feast of Purim coming up on Thursday, March 13th, and Friday, March 14th. And then right after that, we have the Passover coming up April 12th. So the Passover week starts Wednesday, April 9th, all the way through April 13th, which is that Sunday, which will be the Feast of Unleavened Bread. All right. You can look online for the whole schedule for all the events that we have planned. April 9th, I know, is the start of the Lambs. April 10th is General Muhammad's scripture breakdown. April 11th is the Hebrew Academy and Hebrew Academy graduation. April 12th is the Passover. April 13th is the Feast of Unleavened Bread. And remember, when you leaving out, when you come back, you will be in the midst of the Feast of Unleavened Bread, so make sure you prepare your house accordingly.
Right.
All right. With that being said, if anyone wants to be a trooper in the school, start wearing all that boots, shirt, pants, headband, or scarf. With that being said, individual Almighty, individual Almighty Shabbat, Almighty Barak, Yahweh
Shem Yahshua Barakathum.
Yahweh Sarah, which means determined, going to get a sister courtesy salute. Individual Almighty Shabbat, Almighty Barak,
Yahweh Shemar Alathan, Bashem Yahushua.
Yahweh Class dismissed.
You be saying, yeah.